What are you listening to? Oh, it's WIDR Kalamazoo.
This is Live, Loud, and Local, taking listeners inside the best live shows in Kalamazoo and beyond. This is 89.1 WIDR FM. You can listen live on widrfm.org. Hello, everybody. Karen again. If you haven't listened to this show before, this is Live, Loud, and Local. I'm a chronic concert goer. I'm recording this during fall break. I just went to Metal Frat in Ann Arbor for the first time last night to see Carpool, Cinema Scare, Kiss Your Friends, and Dad Caps. We'll talk about that later, though. I kind of want to introduce our guest for this week. So with me, I have Bryce.
What's happening?
And he's the singer, the guitar player, the man when it comes to this band called this band called Pretty Sure. They're a self-described endearing, self-deprecating rock and roll band from Grand Rapids and Cincinnati. How are you, Bryce?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So to get back on the topic of my funny socks that you were just commenting on, so I was just in Ann Arbor last night with my sister, and I went to a show at Metal Frat, and I quickly packed my bag, and I didn't have any socks, so I asked my sister, hey, do you have any extra socks I could have? And she gave me these heart fire socks, and they're funny, and I was excited when she pulled them out, and she said, you want these?
Absolutely.
I see that you're wearing, are those Garfield socks?
Yeah, these are my Garfield socks.
Oh, I love it.
You gotta have a good set of Garfield socks
Honestly.
in rotation, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So tell me a little bit about Pretty Sure.
Yeah, it's been a dream of mine to play rock and roll music ever since I was a little kid, and it feels like we're actually doing the thing, which is a lot of fun. Released our debut EP, Pretty Sure ? In February. Started playing shows in March and have since ripped about 20 odd gigs under the name Pretty Sure. I've been writing songs and playing music and been in bands my whole life, but this one feels a little bit different. It feels like we're heading in a really unique and good direction, so it's just fun to play rock and roll with my friends.
So tell me kind of who's in the band.
Yeah, so you touched on it. I play guitar, I sing, I write the songs and stuff like that. And we are from Grand Rapids in Cincinnati, so there's kind of a geographical divide that makes our situation a little unique. I was born and raised in Cincinnati, and two of my best friends in the whole entire world, Kyle Harmon and Colin Dylan Daniels, Kyle plays drums, Dylan plays the bass. And those are the two that recorded on the EP with me, and they're going to record on this upcoming album that we can absolutely please talk about later. But those are my two boys in Cincinnati, so I play with them every chance I get, and then they also come up here and play some of the bigger shows as well. But I also have a functioning band in Grand Rapids, Ryan Elvert on the drums. He produced, recorded, and mastered the EP at River City Studios.
Nice. And
plays drums. He's a champ in every sense of the word. And then Lorenzo plays guitar as well. Lorenzo's also in a project in Grand Rapids called Feeding Grizzlies, and they just released an album, are playing the Pyramid Scheme, like they're doing the damn thing, which is really cool. So there's a lot of people involved that are making this go. Oh, Mitchell Brown, he's a bassist out of Lansing, plays for the Rupert Brothers and Tangelo, and he joins us as well to fill in the low end in Grand Rapids from time to time. So just an insane amount of people involved with this, but all driving Pretty Sure forward. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you say that you're in this this other band also.
I'm not. Lorenzo is.
Oh, Lorenzo is. You aren't. Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
And thought of that. So you said that you have this album kind of coming up.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Working title is called Almost Positive. We like kind of the ambiguity of that. It's going to be 10 songs. It's going to be a full-length album. It's something that I've, as an artist and a writer, I wanted to write a full-length my entire life. I have songs and songs and songs that I've written, but nothing as like a complete like album. So we're going to try to get in the studio mid-February if we can, and then have it released in time for hopefully a little regional run sometime early summer.
Nice.
So yeah, there's been a lot of momentum already, and there's a lot of hype around this from us, and honestly in Grand Rapids too. It's really cool. We've only been playing shows since March, and it feels like things have just kind of, I don't want to say taken off, but I mean, there's a definitive momentum that's given us a lot of confidence going into this record. And it's difficult because the drummer and bassist that are going to record are in Cincinnati, and I'm up here. So it's kind of like, how do we piece those together to be prepared to go in the studio? Because we're cutting it to tape. So we have 3 takes and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, then a new reel comes in and you just have to be on top of your game. But we started album prep for that. We've been doing Zoom meetings every week just to be like, what do we like? What didn't we like in these demos? And then I'm playing the Thompson House in Cincinnati on the 4th of November. So I'll be down there and spend that weekend just playing music till our hands bleed, just
Wonderful.
to get things, you know, under our hands and worked out together. But yeah.
So is the Thompson House like a pyramid scheme-ish type of?
Yeah, it's growing up where I went to see like the Tiny Moving Parts and the Modern Baseballs and the Front Bottoms where they would come through Cincinnati. You'd either be there or Bogart's.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, it's not nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been living in South Dakota and Grand Rapids now for a while. Since I graduated high school, and things have kind of changed around the scene there. So I don't think the Thompson House is at the height of its powers right now, but still, it's a good room. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's definitely like a foundational aspect when it comes to that scene.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you're really from like Grand Rapids. Would you say you're more of like a Grand Rapids base rather than like a Kalamazoo type of band?
Yeah. But that being said, like just all over West Michigan, you know, north to south, like there's been love that we felt pretty much everywhere. Like we went up to and played a festival up north of Big Rapids, and that was a lot of fun. And just really making connections everywhere we go. There's a band called Iridescence that's in Grand Rapids, and half of their members are all the way up in the UP.
Yeah.
But they're homies, and I have a lot of homies down here in Kalamazoo and even over in Lansing. So it's really cool to see Michigan, you know, kind of be like a home base. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely super, super cool. I'm from the UP also.
Oh, nice.
So I go up, I go back home, and then in Marquette, I see bands from down here that are playing in Marquette.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most incredible thing ever, because I'm like, I've seen you about 6 times downstate, and now you're all the way up here. And it's weird how those like connections really like aren't location based. Like they really like, one person moves to one city super far away and they're like, oh my God, come. I just saw Carpool last night, and this is my second time seeing them, and they're from New York. But I saw them initially in Kalamazoo, and then I saw them in Ann Arbor. So it really is not like a location specific thing, but there's something different about West Michigan when it comes to energy. Tell me about that.
So I spent my like college years, just finished up there, graduated maybe 8 months ago, a year ago. I've been in Grand Rapids for a full year. That's a good time. Just, it's a never-ending blur of moments and people and places and things. It's just, but I've been in Grand Rapids, I can say that, for a year.
Yes.
And just like everywhere you go, there was a show that we played at a dive bar called Mulligan's, which is a staple of Grand Rapids. I
love Mulligan's.
If they paid me, they don't even have to pay me. You get 3 pitchers of PBR every time you play there, right? Like, give me my 3 pitchers every Friday and Saturday night. I would be the house band at Mulligan's. I love that place so much. Shout out Will Wilson. He's the sound guy there. He's awesome. But all that to say, we joined a show last minute because one of the bands, Fremont Pike from Detroit, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they couldn't make it. So they were like, hey, please. And we were like, sure. So we hopped on, and that was one of 3 shows that I would have gone to in the city on that same night.
Nice.
And it's like, it's just so dense. Everywhere you go, there's a show right around the corner. And we played a pretty big one at Skeletones back in August with the band Lollygagger. Shout out Chicago Punk.
Nice.
They were on a little tour, and I got them to stop in. And again, that was one of 3 shows that I would have gone to in Grand Rapids that night. We just happened to be playing, so I was at that one. You know, it's crazy. And it's also encouraging. It's also welcoming, because I've only been here for a year, and Pretty Sure's only been operating in this area since March. And we're already, you know, getting the DMs and making the connections, and people are like, please come play on the show. Like, we really like what you're doing. And I feel like it's less competitive. I mean, it is in a sense because of the density.
Yeah.
And that's natural, but it's just incredibly supportive of the people in the community and the scene. It's really awesome.
Definitely. When because I'm a house show goer, and that's like kind of my niche, and I absolutely love that. Specifically like in Vine neighborhood in Kalamazoo. But like I'll go to anything, and there's something like every single band that plays really is a fan of the other bands that are playing. And they're the ones that are like on the front lines screaming every single word, and there's such a sense of community when it comes to it. I can't even imagine being like a band being like, this is this new thing I'm doing, and people are like, please come on this. Even like this, like I'm like, please come on this show.
Yeah.
It's such a this is like a big sense of community I've felt like outside of like a school setting that I didn't realize was like possible, honestly.
Yeah.
So definitely, absolutely wonderful. Speaking of house show stuff, I see that you guys play at the Runoff a lot.
This will be our second time, so we played there before. Yeah, so there was kind of like mixed genre show. Shout out Drew, a drummer. That dude is awesome. But he kicked off the night, and then we went on, and then Daniel Staggs went on after that. And he's kind of a staple around here. I see his name come up a lot. But I mean, it was just a random Friday night. It was our first time playing in Kalamazoo, I think. And yeah, it was. And the entire garage was just full. It's like, oh, and y'all paid $10 to get in? That's crazy. And y'all are here. Like, it was just, and a lot of people, it was their first time listening to us, I'm sure, aside from maybe like a quick Spotify before the show. And we had that garage moving. And
definitely.
Like, I'm big on, just being raw and authentic and energetic on stage. It's just, how can you not? But I didn't even have to like do anything special or be like, take a step forward. You know what I mean? Like a lot of shows, they just like started spinning the room themselves. And I was like, oh, y'all are like this down here. And then when I was recording the EP, it was winter time. Yeah, we released it in February. I was like, I want to do a Halloween show as the Strokes. That would be really cool. Something to cap the year before the next record. And the Runoff wanted us to play as the Strokes. So we're going to be there on the 27th. And that's going to be a good one.
That's going to be such an incredible show.
Yeah.
On top of like the lineup that is also with you guys, on top of the Runoff. The Runoff is one of my favorite venues.
Yep.
They've been such a staple venue in Kalamazoo, and I've brought in, honestly, incredible people. And again, like you're saying, like the band doesn't have to try to get people excited. People just are, and they're moshing, and they're ready to go when they show up to the Runoff.
Yeah, and actually, Greed Death was there, and then Post-Op Error out of Lansing. I've learned about them through the Runoff. Holy shit, they get after it. It's just phenomenal, and uniting the state, really, honestly. Like, there are people coming from all over, and it's just the Runoff, and it's so hospitable too. It's like, yeah, this is my house. There's a green room in the back. There's some PBR back there. Sit on my couch, make yourself at home. It's really cool.
So is Kalamazoo kind of the only place that you've seen like people playing in their houses, similar to like the Runoff, or is that you've played other venues like that before?
Yeah, so the Runoff is like as close as you can get to like an actual venue. Gosh darn venue. I don't know. Y'all cool with shits and fucks on here?
That's okay. He'll edit stuff out.
Cool. Okay. But yeah, it's actually like a real life venue. And I mean, it's DIY to the core, but that's a phenomenal place to play. Like, you don't have to worry about like parking your car and then where did my amp go? You know what I mean? They take care of their own there. Yeah, I've played basements in Sioux Falls. I actually helped start a house venue out there. We called it the Laundry Chute.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun. That was where I was in a band called Ghost Tricks there, and we played some shows there. And then where the University of Cincinnati is in Clifton, there's a big house show scene there, but it's weird because it's all outside.
Interesting.
Yes, there's like this one called The Jungle that's really up and coming. They've only been playing shows there for 3 months now.
Okay.
And it's just like people show up and it's the driveway. And wintertime in Cincinnati, or like late fall into winter in Cincinnati, like it's not exactly warm there. So you see people like in full winter coats, like gloves,
so
like
in the winter they'll be outside too.
I mean, they'll probably stop once like Thanksgiving break comes around.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's hardly like in basements there. It's just outside, which I find kind of odd. There's a Treehouse in Grand Rapids. We haven't been able to play there yet, but they get after it. From what I hear, though, from some of the older heads in Grand Rapids, is that there was just a phenomenal house show scene in like the Heritage Hill, Cherry Park area. But then COVID came.
Oh.
And then they turned 30.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah.
Because then it's almost like there isn't a generation, like they turned 30, but then there wasn't that generation to kind of take it from them and go with it. Kalamazoo suffered that a little bit. But we have such a young crowd around here that people will like still be hosting their house, and again we have houses that pop up for 3 months and then it's gone, but like the Runoff, they've been there for years at this point.
Well, Bronson Arm, they're a staple too.
Love Bronson Arm.
Lucius Fox is going to be on the Halloween show, and they're as MCR.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, they say like Lucius Fox and friends, so I'm really interested to see who they're going to bring along, but they're going to be like full banding it, which is crazy because normally they're just a
duo.
Yeah.
I saw them play at Bell's a while back, and that was so not like my usual genre of stuff that I listen to, but man, was I having fun with that.
We in Grand Rapids, when we get called for like last minute gigs every once in a while, and we'll play as a 2-piece. We actually played the Music Factory somewhere south. I think is that Battle Creek.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Funny story about that one, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to make Paul mad. But yeah, so we showed up as a 2-piece.
Battle Creek is where the Music Factory is.
Yeah, that's a nice little spot. Not necessarily my scene. It's more of like the rock and roll, if you kind of catch my drift. But yeah, it's a great place to play. But we played that as a 2-piece, and we played I think 2 or 3 other shows as a 2-piece, and that's hard. That stuff is hard. Yeah, and they make it look really easy. I mean, it helps when you have like a little wall of amplifiers behind you.
Oh, definitely.
But I mean, that only covers so much ground. Like, you still got to play the notes.
Yeah, you still got to have the talent behind it and be able to. Because they were gonna play another show too, and then I think one of their members like broke their hand or broke their wrist. And it's just, I forget sometimes that they're people, and they're like, oh yeah, that actually happens once in a while. But yeah, you still gotta like play the notes and be able to like and write it too.
Yeah.
I was blown away by just how it was writing ability wise. I thought that was super, super impressive. Transitioning into writing stuff, your music, Pretty Sure's music, honestly is like so good. And I hadn't really listened to you guys before you messaged me and asked to come on the podcast. But when I tell you you guys are so authentic, like house show music.
Yeah.
Tell about that.
So we've been fortunate enough to play these songs a lot since the release of the EP. And it's just so much easier when you're honest. Yeah. You know, like you don't have to like put on a certain persona or put on a certain whatever. You can just go up there and play the songs that you wrote and play the songs with your friends. The whole EP starts off with like, I don't really have anything worth stealing, but I triple check to make sure my door's locked anyway. Your boy's got anxiety, right? And normally like through well-developed steps, I can regulate that, right? Myself. But when it comes to locking a door, not even kidding, like, it's locked. Okay, walk away, come back. Okay, I locked it. No, but like for real, I locked the door, and like that's where my anxiety manifests itself, and I'm sure that people can relate to that. You know what I mean? So like in a very literal sense, I don't have much worth stealing, but I triple check to make sure my doors are locked because that's an anxious tick of mine. It's just things like that. It makes writing easier, honestly. You're just telling it kind of how it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's easier to get good songs that way. It's easier to connect with people that way, and it's easier to perform, and you don't feel like you're hiding anything or telling any fibs. You're just playing the music.
Yeah, and that super came through the music when I was listening to it. I was just like, oh my god. It felt so authentic. It felt so, I'm in a basement listening to this stuff. And your lyrics specifically were really, really spoke to me. Could you tell me about like your lyric writing process? You also talked about how you're on Zoom once a week with your bandmates writing this stuff. Yeah. Kind of tell me how you come up with this stuff, how you write the lyrics, how you're writing music, things along those lines. Yeah.
So I'm a guitarist by trade. I've played guitars in all the bands that I've been in. And then when I moved to South Dakota, I looked around, I was like, oh, I have to kind of like sing now. I have to like write songs now. And I've always written songs pretty much the same way. I just find stuff that sounds really cool to play on guitar. It feels natural to play. And then I kind of keep like a running stream of consciousness, I call it, on the notes app on my phone. And I just like things that I have, like ideas that I have as they come to me, I'll write down. And just for y'all that can't see, I'm pulling out my phone to look at my streams of consciousness, because like this is just what it looks like. And it's all
Oh my
things that I
goodness, lots
think...
and lots and lots of words on that note.
Yeah, and it's things that I think are witty. And like, for example, I wrote this today. I'm living proof that you can get kicked while you're down and get up swinging. Like, just little pieces of thought like that that form themselves into songs. More often than not, it just comes from like playing a progression over and over again and then mumbling words until you get it right.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about these Zoom calls that you and your band are on.
Yeah. So it starts off with, hey, I demo the songs. I invested, I played the guitar in a local high school's musical in the pit.
Nice.
And that was an actual decent payday. So I was like, you know what? I wasn't expecting that cash. I'm gonna get my demo machine set up. So that included an interface, good hardware to like do this stuff and make it sound good in time and in tune are the big parts of the demo process. But it starts off with like, okay, let's talk about these two songs. I'll demo them out the way I see fit. We'll find what parts we like, what parts we don't like. I'll go back that next week and patch those in, send it out again. Okay, what do we like, what don't we like? And then once we can finally sit down and actually listen to the demo and be like, okay, that's it. So that's how it should go. How it really goes is we get on Zoom and then it's like 30 minutes of like a bit that we started 2 weeks ago, and then we just keep running it into the ground, and then it's like, all right, maybe we should talk about music now. But,
Nice.
Yeah, and it's really natural. I've been writing songs with Kyle and Colin since I was like 14.
Nice.
Colin, he's the bassist. He's Colin, Dylan, whatever. They're interchangeable. It's the same person.
Okay.
So I might slip up and say one or the other, but Colin is Dylan. Dylan is Colin.
Gotcha.
Nicknames. Nicknames should not be first names. They should be like Goober or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like something definitive.
Something very like random, not like
Yeah, not
like
an
a
actual
name.
like common human name. But yeah, so he's been playing bass drum to my snare drum in like the 5th grade band.
Nice.
And then we got into jazz band together, and he's been playing bass to my guitar since we were kids. So it's a pretty natural thing. I can kind of count on knowing what he's going to interpret when I write a progression. And then Kyle has just got chops for days. So, I mean, it's like, hey, can you maybe make it sound a little bit like this? This is my idea. And then he would do it like tenfold. So
Nice.
a lot of it's just trust in those two, which makes writing songs easier because I can go out on limbs and they know my writing process well enough to be like, hey, maybe we should pull that back just a bit. Maybe, try this angle. Or they're like, no, that is really good. That's, you're growing. So it's really cool that we have that history together to
That's
kind of
super cool.
Yeah, base this album on. I mean, it's a big deal to write an album. It's not easy.
Definitely not. Yeah, and even just like through this show and these past episodes that I've been recording, that's really like a staple that you really got to just trust the bandmates. And it's like, yeah, you might be the main one who's doing all the stuff, but you're still like taking bits from other members of the band. Yeah, I couldn't even. That's such an incredible trust to put.
Cause like, and when I send them these demos, like it is hardly any processing as far as like vocal effects or guitar tones. It is literally like miking my amp singing into pretty much the same microphone. Like early on in the lyrical process, like there's a vulnerability that comes with that. Cause what a lot of people hear when the albums come out, like there's a lot of deliberation. Sometimes it goes into what's done. Sometimes you don't think much at all and you're like, nope, it was good the first time, let's just do that.
Yeah.
But it's a thought out product that's, put out. But with these demos, like it's like I will write a song about my grandpa dying and have the most honest lyricism I've ever wrote and then just send it to them and be like, well, if it's bad, you have to tell me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's...
And you're like, I got to be okay with that.
Yeah, there's a vulnerability that comes with it. But I mean, that just comes from, pretty much a decade of us playing together.
Yeah, and I feel like almost a trust like that can't like happen unless it's over a decade.
Yeah.
If it's over like, you knew your bandmates when they were 14. Like one of the most like embarrassing parts of their life.
Yep.
There's definitely like and I bet it wasn't like that in the beginning either.
As far as
like trust in your bandmates to.
Yeah. So I was whipping us around circa 2015, 15, 16.
Okay.
In a 2001 Jeep that did not have a rear view mirror.
Nice.
And that was leaking coolant. So I would have to stop every 25 miles and pour a gallon of water into the coolant tank because it was like literally falling apart. And I was probably not driving the speed limit. And Kyle would get in the back seat, Kyle would get in the front seat, and they just trust me to get in places. You know what I mean? So like a musical trust, it took a little bit to define our skills and build that. But like I've blindly trusted Colin's input since I was in 5th grade for some reason.
Nice.
Yeah, like I don't know, it's really unique. And I think it would be admittedly easier if I just had my band in Grand Rapids, because then I could just meet with them in person 3 times a week and be very almost clinical with the approach. But like I want to play music with my friends, you know. It's really good to work with those two.
Yeah, that's something you don't hear very often. Is just like that amount of just trust, but also like the distance of like like these two are my people. These few people are my people, and like you couldn't do it with anybody else.
And I will say the people that I have in Grand Rapids, phenomenal. This isn't like saying that they aren't incredible musicians or incredible people or dear friends of mine, but like there's just something that comes from having that connection and those roots with those two down
those
there.
roots specifically with those people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet. So then talking about the song I want to shout out on this episode is called Cardboard.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about this song?
So Cardboard on my tongue was a very literal interpretation of a place that my brain was at. This particular place, I'm trying to use heavy euphemisms here. I was in the back seat of somebody's car, staring out the window on a rainy night as we were driving through traffic and through the middle of downtown Sioux Falls, and it was catching the raindrops on the window were catching the light from the stoplights and the greens and the yellows and the reds and then the passing cars and the lights on the buildings. And like that's where the refreshing reflections came from.
Gotcha.
So that was a literal interpretation of a very specific event in my life that I wrote a song about. And I love the Deftones. I love Title Fight. I love like the big just wall of guitar thrown at you.
Yes.
And that's kind of, I didn't want to overthink Cardboard. I wanted it to be that. So I sat on that song for a while, and then I was like, you know what? This needs to be part of this EP. It's good enough. And then we got in the studio, and that was the first song that we tracked.
Nice.
And we looked at each other like, oh, that's what a good song sounds like. Yeah. And Dylan playing the bass on that track is just phenomenal. And then Kyle is just incredible on the kit. Like, it all just lined up. And then Ryan, mixed and mastered and produced it. But Austin is the head engineer over at River City, and he's, shout out Austin, just phenomenal. But he came in, and I don't know what he did. He went over to like the stack of preamps. Okay. And he was in and out, just like kind of seeing what we're doing. But he went in there, and I remember in the middle of mixing it, he was like, just turning knobs, and he was like, that'll do it. We're like, what? And he was like, it'll do it.
He's like, just trust me, do it.
And then we listened to it back, and we're like, I don't know what he did, like what special like secret formula, but then we're like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Nice.
That song just like you can really sink your teeth into it. Yeah. It's a good tune.
No, that's honestly my favorite song from y'all was that song specifically. Yeah. So then with this song, where are you going to be playing soon?
I will be on October 27th at the beloved Runoff in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Shout out. As the Strokes, I'm a huge Strokes fan. Literally, like, Kyle has been in the top 0.003% of Strokes listeners since 2018, and I've been probably like maybe like 0.005 behind him. Like,
nice.
The Strokes, that runs deep. And the EP actually, a lot of the sonic textures there, we used a lot of similar approaches to recording as the Strokes did. We were all in the same room, no click, just playing to each other. And we tried to mic amps in a similar way. We wanted it to sound like you were in a basement listening to these songs. So they've had a huge influence on us. And the fact that we get to be like the West Michigan reincarnate of them is really cool. That's really cool. I didn't even think about like the connection between just listening to each other and no click and
Yeah, you can super tell that it's live and that's what's happening.
Yeah, and that is definitely for better or worse too. There's some moments I listen back where I'm just like, just if we had done it a little bit differently. But these are all things we can look back on and be like, we grew. And I think that's the mark of a good artist, is having something. It's very much, we talk about like a proof of concept. It was to show that we're an actual real life band, and to get, opportunities like this to talk about it and to play shows. And it's more than served its purpose. But this album that we're working on, like, we are already having meetings about it, and we're 4 or 5 months out. We're going to, have a game plan going in, because that was the first time, speaking to the distance, that was the first time we played 2 of those songs together.
Okay. Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, we had talked loosely about, like, I Think I Missed It All and Holly Tree. We had talked about them, but I had made one trip down to Cincinnati before we recorded, and we just, Reading More and Cardboard are like the 2 big boys, and Top Shelf. But yeah, the other 2 tracks off of that, Holly Tree and I Think I Missed It All, we like hadn't even played in the same room together before we got to the studio.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yep. Do I wish that we maybe would have played them in a room together before? Yeah.
Okay.
But no, it just kind of speaks to the time and place of the EP, and yeah, it's really cool. It was, and that speaks to the trust too, and that elevates that, knowing that we can step into studios. I mean, we kind of control the pace of it, but at the same time, like, you're paying to be there in a lot of instances, and you have to. I mean, it's what people hear, you know what I mean? You can't be like, oh, I wish I did this. It's just do it. So there's a level of pressure that comes with that. And the fact that we all performed and operated under that, degree of pressure is really encouraging. Yeah.
So I'm a very like classically trained musician, and the idea
What do you
of
play?
having,
Do you mind me asking?
I play alto sax is my main
word.
one. I've played Barry in a jazz band. I've played trombone in a jazz band.
Yeah.
I took up drums for a bit, figured out it was not for me.
Not for you.
But I've messed around on like a few different stringed instruments, but alto saxophone is my main one. I'm in the marching band at Western.
Word.
So the idea of a rehearsal and then record sounds like my worst nightmare.
Yes.
But to be fair, I can't tell.
It's also a producer's worst nightmare.
Is it? Can you tell more about that?
Well, he was cutting teeth at the time at River City. He's now, he's done so many great things. He worked with the Verve Pipe.
Nice.
Yeah, just like he missed a rehearsal because he had to work with the Verve Pipe, and I was like, I guess you can, you know what I mean?
How dare.
Yeah, but it makes their job a lot easier when the musicians know what they're doing.
Oh, 100%.
And have an idea of what they wanted to sound like going in. And we very much showed up. Oh, I kick myself to this day. We showed up 15 minutes late.
Ooh.
Which isn't cool. Punk time's awesome until it's not.
Yeah, until it's the recording day and you're paying to be there.
Yeah, until you're getting the text, where are you? Oh, yeah. But no, it just makes their life a lot easier when you can come in, and our goal is to nail drum takes on this album in 3 takes or less.
Nice.
If we can get it the first time and it's good, we'll keep it.
Yeah.
Because what that does is it opens the door to all the cool stuff and the special sauce that you can do with a studio like that, and with a professional producer and things like that. Luckily, with the way that our sound goes, like, there's not a ton of post work that needs to be done, just because we're honestly probably going to mix as we go during, like, it'll be a pretty much live performance. So there's not like a lot of things that need to be done to our sound, but still, like, there's some cool guitar doubling things that you can do. There's some cool vocal things that you can do when you're prepared and have time, instead of being like, well, we have 3 hours left and we still have lead guitar, bass, and drum punch-ins to do.
Yeah, it's we can work on the details once we have that time, instead of getting the bare basic.
Yes, and that's what really elevates these records, because my approach to it, like, I want it to sound like it's going to sound when we play it. You know what I mean? Like, there's
100%.
Like, there's a time and place for overproduced records, but my favorite ones is the Sit by the Strokes, which is literally like he's singing through a PV practice amp. Like, Julian Casablancas that's the way that they recorded it, and it's how it's going to sound live. Like, there's not much to do. Manipulator by the Fall of Troy, I was listening to that here. Like, they just got in a room and played really hard together, and that was it. You know what I mean? And I just saw them in Grand Rapids at the Scheme,
Nice.
and that was crazy. But like, it sounded like they sounded. And,
Exactly.
So all that to say, there's not a ton to do as far as post work goes, but just having the parts down and being able to, and having the time and the opportunity to do the details goes a really long way.
Yeah, because it's also one of those things of like, yeah, maybe you don't come prepared, but be ready to pay triple the amount of time to be in the studio to
Yes.
like actually have it instead of preparing before for free
Yeah.
and then getting in the studio type of situation.
And I mean, just being respectful of the space and the people involved, because like the producer is using their time and their energy and their professionalism and their oftentimes degrees to help you.
Definitely.
And you know, they're going to put their name on it. And
They want to be proud of it.
yeah.
So Pretty Sure is going to be playing on October 27th at the Runoff as The Strokes. And then on November 4th, they're going to be playing the Thompson House in Newport, Kentucky. The song I'm shouting out for this episode is Cardboard by Pretty Sure.
I just want to give a huge, immense thank you so very, very much to all the people in West Michigan, to you for having me here, and all the people that have even listened to the songs or thought about listening to the songs or have even said the phrase pretty sure, which is a common phrase. No, but in all seriousness, there's so many people involved that inspire me every single day to keep doing this, because it is hard. Sometimes, you know, it's really like, it's challenging in a lot of ways to be this vulnerable, but there's just so many phenomenal people involved with making this go and helping me as an artist and as a person. And I would, you know, be full of regret if I didn't, you know, every time that I get the chance to say thank you, say thank you. I'm a big believer in tell the people that you care about them every single time that you think about it or that you get, because you never know, you know what I mean? Not to be too macabre, but like, you never know. So just really everybody that's involved, you know who you are. And if you don't, thank you.
You can stay up to date everything Pretty Sure by following them on Instagram at Pretty Sure Band. You can also find this show on Instagram at Live Loud and Local. I'm always reposting venue posters, my favorite artists, and giving updates about this show. The best way to get on this show is by Instagram DM. Until next time, Kalamazoo, remember to bring your earplugs, and as always, tip the touring band.